Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is White Lightning 777. We're talking today about so-called stupid anti-vax, or should I say pro-vector, pro-germ lobby. It's interesting. These idiots have always opposed any new technology. I mean, it started, I don't know, with trains. These idiots, without any foundation whatsoever, claimed that steam engines would cause women to have miscarriages, and they wanted people to remain using horses, and they opposed the development of the trains system in our country, costing many people their lives and delaying development considerably. These same people also opposed Tesla. See, before we had a network of power lines in this country, Nikola Tesla used one of his coils to find a way to shoot electricity through the air. And he built these towers that were firing what looked like thunderbolts into the air, and if you had a battery-powered device or an electric device, you could place it next to these things and it would recharge. It's just, basically, how when you put a cell phone on the charging pad without a plug and it charges wirelessly, basically that's where the concept came from. But idiot, snake-handling preacher fools didn't like the idea, and they insisted that electricity go through wires. So for decades, people had to live without electricity until enough electric poles could be set up to get to everybody. Obviously, a lot of food spoiled. A lot of people froze to death, simply because they didn't have electricity. The scum opposed that. When it was discovered, for example, that tooth decay could be stopped by putting a little bit of fluoride in the water, again, the scum, of course, favor germs. See, the germs that rot your teeth are more important than you are. And they made up a bunch of basically abject bullshit stories about fluoride wrecking your sperm count and giving you cancer and whatnot. Now, granted, pure fluoride, I wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want to eat a gallon of the stuff, but like any other chemical, it's a question of dosage. A bottle of Tylenol will most certainly kill you, but we don't ban Tylenol, okay? It has to be used to the appropriate dosage in the appropriate way. If these jackasses had their way, and you're a younger person, say 50 years or younger, you'd probably have 5 to 10 fillings in your teeth, which, ironically enough, dental fillings use lead and gold and metals, so you would actually have, more metal poisoning from the fillings than you would from the fluoride, from fluoride. So they would actually, because they are pro-germ, you would actually have more germs and metal poisoning. The same scum, of course, oppose irradiating food. Again, the germs matter and you don't. If you've had food poisoning, the technology to irradiate food safely, it's like canning, has been around there. Essentially, you vacuum seal it, you put it in a can, zap it, boom, and it'll last for years. In fact, a lot of your survivalist type food where they say it keeps for 25 years, or military MREs, are actually irradiated, which is why they can last that long. Well, the scum, the pro-germ scum in this country, don't like that. They don't like technology. And in any case, they think the food is radioactive. Okay? That's like if I shine a flashlight on something, they think that, these idiots would think that that glows in the dark. Wrong. If you shine an X-ray on something, it's not radioactive. It's another frequency of light. That's all it is. But the scum are too stupid to understand that. And by the way, if you get on an airplane or an office building, the scum also won't run your food through an X-ray scanner machine, which, by the way, uses a much, much, much lower dose of X-rays. I mean, it would be equivalent to a pen light. Okay, so terrorists have a better chance of blowing up your airplane or bringing a gun into your office through a lunchbox with food. Okay, this is a huge security breach that occurs in all states in the country, even courthouses. And they say, well, you have to hand search it, so that, you know, chances are, you know, you can get shot and killed by a terrorist because the pro-germ people don't understand how X-rays work. The same is true with magnetometers, metal detectors. Oh, pregnant women can't walk through the detector. It won't harm their kid. That is absolutely wrong. When they go into the obstetrician uses an MRI machine, a magnetic resonance imager, to take pictures of the fetus. But they think a magnetic field detector that gives off no field of its own is going to harm them. Okay? Stupid. I mean, if you're that fucking stupid and superstitious, you don't belong in a building and you don't belong in an airplane. Just get the fuck out of my country. I don't need you. You know. And of course, what are they doing lately? Well, they've of course been into the whole anti-vaxx thing. See, if these anti-vaxx people had their way, we would still have polio. We wouldn't have vaccines. We would still have rabies. We wouldn't have vaccines. We would still have smallpox. We wouldn't, because, you know, they don't understand how it works. If they're too stupid to understand how it works, somehow that means it'll kill everybody. Okay? You know, we have, you know, had progress in these ways. These are the same idiots that yell about flu vaccines. Now, yeah, flu vaccines, I mean, yeah, they help. They're not a panacea. You can still get the flu in some people. You might even have, and if you've been exposed to that strain of the flu and you get the vaccine, you'll have symptoms of the flu. But, you know, but their latest target, of course, being pro-germ, well, one of their latest targets, actually, I'll get to the good part, is they're pro-mosquito. Apparently, some science companies have gotten together and they've created genetically modified male mosquitoes that have been irradiated so they can't reproduce. They introduce these male mosquitoes into the population to breed with the females, the larvae die, and the mosquito problem goes away. Well, the pro-bacteria people, the pro-germ people, don't like that. They would much rather have natural mosquitoes. Yeah, they like mosquitoes. They prefer mosquitoes over people and germs over people. So Zika and malaria and yellow fever and all these other diseases, I mean, those diseases have more rights than you do if these jackasses get in charge. They claim that sterilized male mosquitoes can somehow interbreed with other insect species and destroy the environment. Mosquitoes can't interbreed with other insects anyway. And certainly not if they're, even before they're sterilized, not afterwards. But again, the pro-bacteria crowd wants it that way. And of course, what's their latest target? The anti-vax idiots. Of course, the Chinese coronavirus vaccines. I mean, we all know that, you know, it's basically all but proven that the Wuhan Science Lab either released accidentally or on purpose, you know, a biological weapon. Okay? And, you know, this weapon, you know, has killed about, you know, 500,000 to 600,000 Americans. Okay? Fortunately, because Donald Trump was president and he knew how to kick some regulatory ass, he put in a project called Warp Speed and got 3 vaccines out in less than a year. 2 of them are the mRNA ones, the Pfizer, Moderna, which are basically the same damn thing. And the other one's Johnson & Johnson, which is an adenovirus, which is kind of like an old school, you know, 20-year-old type of vaccine if you go the traditional route. Of course, the pro-virus crowd, no doubt funded by the CCP. And let's face it, we all know these anti-vax people. I mean, they are funded by enemies of the country. They're obviously being funded by jihadis and communists and other, you know, ilk of that type, because that's just how they are. I mean, why else would somebody favor that? I mean, it's very simple. You can favor the virus and the Chinese Communist Party, or you can favor the American people and our technology. The fact is, our technology negated their weapon. And even speaking of weapons, these people also opposed the development of nuclear bombs. They thought if you set off a nuke, it would set the atmosphere of the planet on fire. Okay? If we didn't have nukes, we'd all be speaking German. Pretty sure the Germans paid for that. And by the way, these other anti-vax idiots were also the ones against the moon landing. They thought we would bring back moon germs if we went to the moon. But guess what? The Russians were also trying to go to the moon, and they would have beat us there. And we'd be speaking Russian if these jackass anti-vax people had their way. They've opposed other types of progress. This latest outrage being working for the Chinese Communist Party and in favor of the coronavirus against people is just another example of their sedition. I mean, what if we had a sedition-free country? Okay? Suppose we had a sedition-free country. Well, electricity would be a lot cheaper. You would have wired electricity and wireless electricity. In fact, your grandparents would have had it. Trains would be better. You would have nuclear power plants. Okay? Most of electricity would be nuclear power plant, and ironically enough, the global warming hoax crowd would be a lot happier. There would be a lot less CO2 in the air, which is not that important, and way less NOx emissions and hydrocarbons. So the air would be a lot cleaner and cheaper because we would all have nuclear power. Okay? What if these other anti-vax people weren't burning down all these labs and protesting? Well, we'd probably have the cure for AIDS by now. Yeah. We would have, and our taxes would be a lot lower. If food was irradiated, not one person would have salmonella. Salmonella and botulism would be something you read about in a history book. And food would be a lot cheaper because it keeps longer. So you're probably spending twice what you would spend on food if everything was irradiated. Okay? The higher level. And if the water supply was irradiated, by the way, your water going into your house, that would be a lot safer to drink. You see these kids that get these, brain-eating amoebas and flesh-eating bacteria and stuff, there'd be a lot less of that. There'd also be a lot less antibiotic resistance as well. Because when you irradiate stuff, germs can become resistant to antibiotics, not radiation, not so much. We'd live in a much safer, cleaner, hygienic country. And let's face it, those who oppose hygiene want to just drag us through the mud because they treat us like shit. Actually, they favor shit more than us. This is White Lightning 777 signing out.